Yet again, another crazy volatile day today in the stock market. And I've been thinking, I don't know what's crazier, the swings that we're seeing in the stock market or the fact that this is starting to seem normal. These swings, they're starting to seem normal. So I don't know what's crazier at this point. And in today's video, guys, just like I always do on this channel, Monday through Friday, we're going to be breaking down the overall markets, talking about what happened today in the S&P, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ. And we're also going to be doing a trading update, talking about what I personally did in the stock market today, plus a bunch of other stocks and ETFs here on my watch list that I'm watching here in this crazy volatility that we've been experiencing, plus just, a bunch of thoughts going through my mind right now, and in general, how much, or not how much money, but how I've been making money here in this volatile market. So if you guys enjoy this video, hit that like button for me down below. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content like this, and join our Discord group chat and our Facebook group linked down below in the description box, 100% free of charge, so you can be further connected with me and our community throughout the week and throughout the trading day. So let's just get right into it. You can see here the S&P 500 is on my screen, and we closed down $51.57, down 1.71%. And the truth is, and you guys know if you were paying attention to the markets today, the truth is we were down a lot lower from where we actually closed just about an hour before this massive rally, about an hour and a half before. Actually, no, about an hour before at 3:08 p.m. Eastern Standard, we were at $2,900. So the S&P here somehow rallied about 70 points in the matter of 52 minutes, from 29.01 up to around 29.72 where it closed, and that ended up being a 2.5% rally. And we've seen this happen before over these past 2 weeks, and I forget exactly what day I've seen this happen, but look, perfect example. Look at this massive green candlestick on the 28th, about a couple days ago. We went from 28.80 up to about 29.50. Yet again, another 2.5% move. And this just goes to show how crazy volatile this market is, to the point where it's moving 2-3% in just 1 hour of trading towards the end of the day, and it's done it multiple times, which is insane. Here's another day, back on the 2nd, we ran from 29.72 up to about 30.85, which is a 3% move in literally 1 hour. So you guys get the point. Crazy volatile market. We're swinging up and down. And just judging off of some technicals here for the S&P 500 before we move on, this could potentially be a double bottom. Not saying it is quite yet, because overall we're still downtrending, in terms of these moving averages on the 5-day, 5-minute. But, if we make some sort of move, upwards move next week is really going to be a deciding factor. If we make a move, let's say back above 3,000, maybe 3,030, that's going to be a pretty compelling move to the upside. But then again, during outbreaks like this, of course, with the CV, everything is up in the air. So the technicals can go out the window. Even if we pop up, let's say we get a scare, from the CV or anything else, this could get knocked down very quickly regardless of the technicals at the end of the day, right? And if we're judging on SPY, which simply tracks the S&P, it's actually down, by the way, after hours here, which is pretty interesting. It's down about 1% from where we ended up closing about 2 hours and 15 minutes prior to me filming this video. But either way, just like the S&P, overall, we're still downtrending on SPY here. SMAs, both the 50 and the 180 SMA on the hourly chart here, they're acting as resistances, but we do see some short-term bullish movement here. That massive run that we saw broke us above that EMA here on the hourly chart. We can see a potential double bottom forming at, let's say, 291, which is a very strong level of support. So for this upcoming week, I'm looking at buying pressure. Of course, selling pressure. Which way are we going? If we start popping to the upside and we end up breaking 301 and those moving averages, maybe getting into, let's say, 302, 303, that could be a very bullish move here from a technical perspective on SPY. And if we're going over to the NDX here, which is the NASDAQ, you can see it was down 1.63% today, down 141 points. And zooming into this daily chart, we rallied from 8,300 up to about 8,530, which is where we closed, which, get this, guys, S&P was up 2.5% during this rally. The NASDAQ, that was closer to a 3% move, 2.85% to be exact. So that's a pretty big move there on the NDX. So that means at one point, this thing was down, close to 4.5%, 5%, which, again, that's a massive move to the downside here. And we'll talk about SQQQ in a couple minutes, but if you guys were able to catch that today, that was a pretty big mover for a day trade, which it pretty much just goes up. That leveraged ETF, which is right here. Let me pull it up for you guys. It pretty much goes up whenever the NASDAQ itself is selling off, right? At a 3x rate, that is. So NASDAQ, you're seeing the double bottom. No need to go into depth. It's pretty similar to the S&P and the SPY and really the Dow Jones too. And pulling up the Dow Jones, we can see it was down actually less than 1% at the close of the market today, down 256 points to be exact. And if we zoom into the daily chart, the move it made was from 25,260 at about 3 o'clock, 3:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to be exact. It rallied all the way up to about 26,000, almost 26K, and it closed at around 25,800, which was a rally of around 2.7%. So massive move in power hour here for the entire market. And in general, guys, this market, it's been volatile. We all know this, and I'm interested in seeing, in terms of the Fed here, are they going to cut rates again? I think their meeting is the 16th, 17th. At this point, they may cut rates again, especially if the markets slip heavier heading into this week or next week rather, and we end up breaking, let's say, those technical levels, which, in my opinion, that could lead to more selling pressure. They may cut maybe next week or even at that meeting again, which I think is either the 16th or the 17th of this month. Let me know down below in the comments if I am wrong on that or whatever date it actually is, if I am wrong on that. So let's get into what I personally did in today's session. And pretty much I traded in and out 3 separate occasions TVIX. And let me pull it up for you guys to go over exactly what I did. And you saw in the title of today's video, TVIX was up at one point 30%, 30 to 35%, which it's crazy because it was up that same amount yesterday. So 2 straight days in a row where TVIX was up 40%. And the truth is, if you bought back on the 3rd of March at $90, you could have doubled your money in the matter of 3 days. And sure, hindsight's 2020. No one knew the VIX was going to spike to 50, which it did today, and no one knew that. But if you were, again, to buy there, you could have made 100+% on your money, which is pretty insane. So we can see here, TVIX was uptrending all pre-market due to the market futures being heavily in the red heading into today's market session. And in general, we talked about the VIX a couple seconds ago. it was uptrending all pre-market. And again, we ended up getting to 54 on the VIX, which on a side tangent here, if we go on the 20-year chart, this is kind of where the VIX peaks out. Back in the Great Recession area, time zone, not time zone, the area, not area. Back in the Great Recession times, guys, let's put it that way. We got to 90, which obviously there's a lot of volatility. The markets got cut in half, but pretty much other than that time, over the past 20 years, right around 45 to about 55 is where the VIX ended up topping out. So that's interesting here. And that could be an interesting move, let's say, if you want to short TVIX, if you think the VIX is going to dump here. But then again, who knows with the CV, anything could end up happening, which could move the VIX even higher than 55, which would be very dangerous and volatile territory. Of course, as we saw in that longer term chart, that hasn't happened in around 10, 12 years at this point. So TVIX for me today, if we go on that daily chart, my first entry point was here, $180.80. That's exactly where I bought in. And if you guys know or don't know, I'm going to tell you anyway. I don't really buy a lot of TVIX. I'm scaling in with a couple $1,000. That's what I'm trading in this type of move, due to it being, or this type of ETN, due to it being very volatile. I'm not allocating a ton of capital to it just for risk purposes, just for risk management purposes, right? And just now that I put that out there, $180.80 is where I got in. And the goal with this trade was really to grab about 1.2% to about 1% of profit. So I actually set my limit at around 183, actually exactly at $183. And this was a very quick in and out scalp type of trade where I was literally in and out within about, let's see here. I think it was close to 5, maybe not even 5 minutes. It was literally 2-3 minutes in and out very quickly. And the second time actually I got into TVIX was as we continued rallying. Again, I got out at 183 with that limit, ended up buying back in actually at 185.43 on this little pull down, but I got stopped out. And a lot of the time I use mental stop losses when it comes to my swing trades, but with TVIX, due to its volatility, I set a stop and I keep it tighter. I talk about this all the time. And by tight, I mean, there's a different definition for a tight stop depending on what type of trader you are. And for me, for TVIX, I'm keeping it within 1.5 to let's say 2%. But for this trade in particular, I think it was more towards around a 1.3% stop loss. So I ended up selling out, stopping from 185.40. Let's see down here, 1.2%. So I could remember it was at around $183.12. That's roughly where I stopped out here on TVIX. And then ultimately, guys, ended up getting in again on this pullback later on in the day, 193.40, I believe, or 193.43 it was. I try to write down the entry points here on my phone. I've been trying to get better at that. And let me just double check with that. Give me a second, guys. 193.43, and then I ended up getting out. It was a 1.78% trade, so 193.43 up to about, it was 196.92. Okay. So that was the third move there. So totally for the day, TVIX in and out 3 separate times. 1 loss, 2 wins. That's what I personally did today. And you guys can see why I would set a stop, because from 201, it went all the way down to 165 as those markets rallied very aggressively like we talked about a couple of minutes ago. And if you didn't have a stop there, you could have got caught in a very bad trade, in a very bad situation that could lead to bag holding, which I've talked about on this channel here is very detrimental, especially to obviously your account and just your confidence in general when it comes to trading. So let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on that trade at TVIX in general, what you've been doing in the markets, and just your thoughts on the markets in general. I would love to know. Let me know down below in the comment section. Now, let's just run through my watch list and talk about the carnage that we witnessed out there in the markets today, guys, because we thought yesterday was bad. It got worse today, down at that point that we saw before Power Hour. There was some blood in the streets today. Let's put it that way. Facebook, this one is getting pummeled, guys, back into the 170s for a little bit of time today, and it ended up going down 2.2%, down $4.08. And it closed at $181. And we've talked about how Facebook, honestly, it's getting into a better value every single day, of course, as it continues to drop. And for me, I own Facebook in multiple accounts. You guys see it in my public M1 Finance account, which you guys can look at the playlist on my channel and follow that account. I own some Facebook, and I believe now that it's fallen so much, I'm down on that position, so I might average into it. Let's see what the market does next week, 2 weeks from now, and then maybe we'll see. But overall, I think anything in the 170s, especially in the 160s, if we do get into that level, that's some pretty good value if we're looking 5 years out for a company like Facebook and everything that they have going for it. MasterCard, you guys know I nibbled some shares at around 293. Still holding on to those shares, by the way. Forgot to mention it a couple minutes ago, but MasterCard ended up holding pretty decently, up pretty decently today. $3.72 in the red, down 1.28%. And in general, I like this company. I like the growth prospects. I like, if comparing it to Visa, it's two different beasts, right? Visa is the top dog when it comes to the payment, processing business, but MasterCard is growing quicker. So for me, I would like to look at MasterCard coming from a more growth-oriented perspective for, the type of portfolio that this is in terms of MA, right? It's in my swing portfolio where I'd prefer having longer term, let's say if I were to hold it, a stock that's growing more than a stock that isn't growing as much like Visa. Either way, they're both good companies, but MA is one that I'm really focusing on here for the time being. Another one that is getting interesting here is Space, guys. Ticker symbol SPCE. It went down 10% today, and we've talked about before in the past this level at around $20.30, $20.40, which happens to be where we actually popped the previous time we hit it back on the 28th of February, and in general, it's a strong level of support. So for me, this could be an opportunity to play the pop, or if we break below this, we can maybe even short it, maybe play some longer term, not longer term puts, maybe some shorter term puts, although that is a little bit risky. But in general, I just want to see what SPC does at the $20 to the $21 range. When it comes to some big tech stocks today, Netflix down 1.02%, down nearly $4 per share. Microsoft down 3%, nearly down almost $5 per share today. The big dog Microsoft. Google cracked back down to the $1,200 range. Now we're starting to get in some interesting value. It's not a screaming buy by any means. Let's say Google under 1,000. That would be a pretty almost a screaming buy, right? But the closer we do get to that $1,000 level, the more interesting it's going to be, which is why I am watching it here. We already talked about Facebook. Amazon down $22 today, down 1.19%. The other big dog, Apple, down 3.89. I don't know why I said it like that. $3.89, down 1.33%. So Nvidia is another one that's getting pretty interesting. I said anything in the 250, 260 level for Nvidia is interesting, but then again, in the environment we're in right now, I'm not quick to buy stocks at this point. I'm not going heavy like I would if we were in a healthier situation, right? Which honestly leads me to talk about, like I said in the beginning of the video, SQQQ. This is one of the ETFs that, again, goes up whenever the NASDAQ is going down, and we saw a pretty big move of 5% today to the upside. So on Monday, especially if we're seeing futures dropping Sunday night heading into Monday morning, SQQQ is going to be on the top of my watch list. There's still a pretty sizable amount to the in terms of profit potential up to the previous resistance being at around $26, and that's around 14% higher from where we are right now. So for sure, this is going to be on my watch list, and SPXS is one that goes up whenever the S&P 500 is going down at a 3x rate. And what I mean by 3x rate is, for those of you guys that don't know, let's say the S&P 500 goes down 1%. SPXS is going to go up roughly 3%. That is what that means. It's a leveraged product that really allows you to capitalize on the intraday movements of the overall market. And one disclaimer here, guys. These are not really meant to be swing traded. You can if you want to. Again, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want, but especially TVIX, this is not meant to be held overnight. It literally says that in the manual, not the manual, but if you go read about the ETF very in depth, it shows you the objectives of the ETN and what it's meant to do, right? What it's meant to be used for. And it's meant to be used for the quick intraday plays, the volatility in the market, and it's really based on volatility at the end of the day for TVIX, which you guys can see on a little side tangent here. TVIX was trending down for the past couple of weeks as the markets have been very, very not volatile, right? And you can clearly see it here by the chart. And to go over some other companies, CCL didn't get slammed too hard today because yesterday it got hit 15%, but down another 2.58% here, down 72 cents on the stock. Carnival Cruise Line. And another one, Uber here, ticker symbol UBER. Let's take a look at this one, guys. It ended up closing at $31.68, down 1.65%. And in general, we talked about this area of support on Uber at around $30.50 to about $31 being a pretty strong one. So keep an eye on what it does here. I'm for sure looking at it, interested in maybe playing a long position if it holds and pops, or maybe even playing a put option if it ends up falling below that level of support, or it's showing signs that it could, such as weak volume, etc., right? Let's take a look at gold/GC. Gold ended up going up, or currently it's up around $6.20, up 0.37%. Ended up hitting a high at 1692.8. Quite a strong day in terms of gold here. If we take a look at JNUG, ticker symbol JNUG, this actually went down 5.87%, and this is a gold mining ETF. It's a 3x leveraged ETF that trades based upon GDX, and GDX today was down about 1.37%, so that is why we saw JNUG down about, 5%, because in general here, JNUG is down, whenever GDX is down, because it goes up whenever GDX goes up at a 3x rate. But in general here, these are some products that trade based upon gold mining in general that I'm watching as of right now, just because, again, guys, fear in the markets, more potential volatility. Gold could continue to move up, thus moving these up as well, and this could be a way to make some money here in the fear and volatility. And GLD is another one, gold ETF, that I personally invest in, that I have money in my M1 Finance account, just to have some money in, just to have a little hedge, right, against the market, the dollar, and just the economy in general. So overall, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to go down below, hit that like button, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content like this. And if you want 2 free stocks, guys, Weeble's actually running a promotion right now where if you put $100 into their account using my affiliate link down below in the description box, you get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. Actually, one of the 2 stocks is valued up to $1,400. And again, that's linked down below in the description box. Go get your free money. Let me know what stock you get. I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks again for watching. As always, thanks for the support. It means a lot to me, guys. Peace out.